Hey guys, my name is Danielle, and today I'm going to be talking about my pregnancy and birth story of my firstborn. Just a little background on me. I am a mama of three. I have a boy and two girls, 3.5, 1.5, and about 2 months old. And today I'm going to be talking about my firstborn. I got pregnant at 23. Me and my husband, we weren't married at the time, but we were living together. It came as a little bit of a surprise, but a happy one at that. We were definitely looking to go that route in the future, but just accelerated things a little bit. Looking back, everything happens for a reason, as cliche as that sounds. I think when a lot of people go through their first pregnancies, they feel like, all right, that's it. I can just indulge in whatever I want and I can eat as much as I want. And that's exactly what I did. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, snacks in between, 3-course dinners, ice cream at night, sometimes 2 bowls, however I was feeling. And I gained weight pretty rapidly, but that's a topic for a different day. I was due on November 6th. And if you have babies or you've been pregnant, you know once you get to that last trimester, the first last few weeks, you are just so ready for that due date to approach, and you hope when that due date comes that it is go time. Any other days after that are just brutal. And so the 6th came and it went. It was about a week after my due date that I was doing some things around the house and I felt this gush and I thought my water had broke. So I was all excited. My husband was at work. I gave him a call and I'm like, it's time. I think my water broke. So he rushed home and we went to the hospital. He checked me to see if my water had actually broke. And if anyone has gone through that before, at least for me, it wasn't really that great. That comfortable of an experience. It actually was super uncomfortable. I went through all of that for them to tell me that my water hadn't broken yet. I was experiencing some contractions, but they weren't close enough yet to where it was actually go time. So they told me to go on and head home and have myself a glass or two of wine, which I thought was pretty funny. And of course they were like, but we didn't say that. If anyone asks, we didn't say that. We didn't recommend it. But a glass or two of wine will go ahead and get things moving along. So I'm like, heck yeah. Almost 10 months without anything, no drinks or anything like that, which I'm not a big drinker, but when you can't have something, you tend to want it a little bit more, right? I went home, had 2 glasses of wine. My husband and I were watching a movie. We went to bed, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, I think, I got woken up by these contractions, and they were super strong and super uncomfortable. And so I just started timing them. So I would wait and time them on my phone. I pulled up the little stopwatch on my phone, and I would just lap it every single time one came to see how long it was and the time in between each contraction, because they told me in the hospital that it had to be an hour long. So as soon as that hour mark hit, I'm nudging my husband and I'm like, it's time. We need to go. I've been doing this for an hour. I'm so uncomfortable. Let's go. So we pack ourselves in the car. I bring all my stuff. I think at this point it was about 4:15, 4:30 in the morning before we actually got to the hospital. Contractions were super strong. They take me back. They test me again to see if my water had been broken, or if we were moving along, and it wasn't anything. They came back and they said, we see a little. So what happens is when they check to see if your water has been broken, for those maybe who are watching that are pregnant, they do a little swab and they take it back and they see if there's any crystallized, I don't know what it is, but any crystals on the swab. And if there is and it's present, then your water has broken. You're moving along with delivery or your labor. So they came back and they said, well, there's a little bit of crystals, but not enough to where we think that you're actually in full-on labor. At that point, I just started crying. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. I'm telling you what I'm feeling. Things are progressing, and I can't go home again. We have to do something. So they ended up checking me in. They checked to see if I was dilated. I think I was maybe not even 1 centimeter, but I was having these really super close, strong contractions. So I thought, this has to be it. And so they checked me in, got me all situated. I called all my friends and family to let them know it was time. A few of my family members came that I was wanted in the room with me through delivery, and I just started doing laps and all of that good stuff. Finally, things had started progressing a little bit more. I went to go to the bathroom, and officially my water had broke. I mean, you know, when your water breaks, you know. Contractions were getting stronger, but I wasn't progressing as far as dilating, so they told me that they were going to go ahead and give me Pitocin to move along the contractions and just keep things going, and hopefully that would help me dilate a little bit more. Got the Pitocin, and I was going to hold off on getting the epidural because, and I feel so silly for admitting this, but I'm just going to do it. I thought the epidural was a shot, so I was scared that if I got the epidural early enough through my labor that once I actually went to deliver, it was going to wear off and I was going to feel something. So I was just holding on until I absolutely couldn't take it anymore. And after 11 hours of labor, mixed with the Pitocin, so my contractions were super strong, I was like, I think I'm ready for the epidural, and I think I'm further along with my labor that it won't wear off. And they were like, what? We could keep you under the epidural for like 5 days if we needed to. And I was like, why didn't anyone tell me that? Because I was in so much pain that I just wanted some relief. They hooked me up to the epidural, and everything was just perfect. I felt great. My husband was like watching the monitor and saw all these strong contractions, and he was like, you didn't feel that? I'm like, I'm on cloud nine. No, everything's great. I didn't feel a thing. So we're just sitting there and trying to move along. I think I got to about 4 centimeters at the 11th hour, and we're just sitting there, and I was getting really hungry because I had gotten in at 4:30 and I hadn't eaten anything since the previous night. And of course, going through labor, I mean, it's a really physical experience. I mean, you're pretty much exhausted. Those of my fellow mamas, you know, once you're done, I mean, you're just completely wiped. So I told them that I was like super hungry and I felt like I needed something to eat, but they didn't want to give me anything to eat. So they gave me a popsicle. And so I ate that popsicle, but I guess being on an empty stomach and having all of that sugar, which I'm not really into processed foods and sugars, although I did indulge at that point in time, but I wasn't really into the high sugars. I think it just upset my stomach a little bit. So I ended up getting sick. So as I am getting sick and my body's convulsing from getting sick, mixed with the contractions, I mean, like, things were getting pretty serious up in there. Next thing I know, all of these nurses and a doctor come into the room, and they're, everybody out, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what is going on? And they said that they had seen on the baby monitor that the baby's heart rate had dropped and wasn't coming back up. So, and I have the epidural now, mind you, so my whole bottom of, from about my diet, a little bit below my diaphragm and lower, was completely numb. I had no movement, I could do on my own. And so they come over and they're shaking me and they're flipping me this way and that way, trying to get me to, the baby to move so his heart rate would go back up. And then finally they got it back up. And then within maybe 10 minutes, they're back in and they're flipping me over again, trying to get me all, trying to get the baby, to, move around and trying to get the heart rate up. So I think after like maybe a minute of doing that and the heart rate didn't come back up to where they wanted it, they were like, okay, I'm really sorry, but we got to get you into the OR. We have to do an emergency C-section because his heart rate's not coming up. So I'm scared. My husband's scared. This is the first time that we're going through, having a baby. So we're not really sure what's going to happen. And there's so many risks that can happen to both mama and baby, during labor and delivery, that you just don't know what can happen. So he's scared. He's looking at me to make sure I'm okay. So nerves were pretty high and like moving at that point, but they rushed me in within about 10 minutes. They had, delivered my son, thankfully, and which was good because the cord was wrapped around his neck. And so that could have been very, risky and not great if I would continue to keep trying to have him, to birth him. Not only that, but he had made a bowel movement in my stomach, and if babies make a bowel movement in your stomach before they're actually delivered, there's a chance that they can actually ingest some toxins, all that, that waste, and they can get really sick and it's life-threatening. So between the two of those, I was so thankful that they had, delivered him via C-section, although I was really looking forward to having the birthing process of actually having the baby. But safety's first, and things don't go as planned, but at the end of the day, when you're in it, as long as your baby comes back healthy, comes into the world healthy, then that's all that really matters. When they delivered him, when they had him, they're like, "Congratulations, you gave birth to a toddler." And it was funny because at my 27-week checkup, they do the growth scan just to make sure everything's going okay. We were like the laugh of the practice because my baby was huge. His head was measuring really huge. I mean, he was just off the charts. And so they were just making jokes, and I'm so scared because I'm like, oh my gosh, this baby's huge. Like, what am I going to do? So it was funny when they delivered him and they said, "You gave birth to a toddler." He weighed in at 10 pounds and 7 ounces and 22.5 inches long. So he was quite large. But thankfully he was okay, and he was very healthy, and everything, although it didn't go as planned, it was good because the end result, we had a healthy boy. So that is my story of my firstborn. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope maybe if you are expecting or going through pregnancy that this was either relatable to you, or it gives you a little bit of an idea of maybe what could happen, and just an example of when things don't happen as planned. That's okay. It truly only matters that your baby is brought into the world happy and healthy. So thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.